the Broncos head to Buffalo for that highly anticipated wild card matchup against the Bills. The first time, I know we've said it over and over, but it's the first time the Broncos will play in the postseason since their 2015 Super Bowl victory. And the Bills, as you know, have had a great season, and they hope a new stadium set to open next year will help them even more. Now, meanwhile, Broncos ownership has said they are considering building a new stadium.
Yeah, the current lease at Empower Field expires in 2031. Denver 7's Russell Haythorne sat down with an economics expert today to discuss what that new stadium might look like.
Darren Dubersmith is a senior lecturer in the sports marketing department at Metropolitan State University of Denver. Darren, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
So let's talk about this, the Broncos and the possibility of building a new stadium. We have talked about it before. What would it look like if the Broncos and their new ownership were to tear down the old Empower Field and build a new one right next door, or at least build one and then tear down the old one? How would that look?
It's almost a definite that a new stadium will be built one way or the other. It's what happens. And the new stadium will probably be the most valuable, biggest, baddest stadium in the history of the world until they build the next one. And it'll get mad sponsorship dollars. All that's going to happen. But the bottom line is that it's much easier for the organization or the city or whoever owns all of that land to move the stadium right next door. They essentially switch out the parking lot with the stadium and the stadium with the parking lot. We did that with McNichols Arena when it became Pepsi Center, and we did it with the old Mile High Stadium here. And it really is standard practice for new venues for sure.
Let's talk about the possibility of moving to a suburban location.
And that's precisely what happened in the 60s and 70s. The stadiums were built out of the city centers. Then they started moving back in the 90s. The stadiums moved back to the urban area as the new generations wanted to live in the cities. What we're finding now is that the cities aren't doing all that well, particularly Denver. A lot of crime, very expensive, just a lot going on that wasn't going on before. Anybody who's been out here for a very long time, and I've been downtown for 30 years, I think, and it's just really fallen apart in the last 10 years, and certainly in the last 3 or 4. We've lost a quarter of our restaurants. Lots of businesses have moved out. We've seen this movie before. This is what happened in the 1970s, so we do have case studies. The problem with a place like Lone Tree, you're going to get a tax break. You're probably going to get a lot of cheaper land and cooperation from the government. You're going to get a lot of traffic. Now, South Denver in particular, North Denver, you don't really have much egress, and that place is already pretty congested. Game days are going to be pretty bad, like they are in New England.
If, and more likely when, we get a new stadium, what will it look like? Will it have a retractable roof so the new owners can attract bigger events, possibly even a Super Bowl?
100%. And I don't know if it's an official rule or an informal rule, but when you build a stadium in the NFL, I think you get 1 or 2 Super Bowls automatically. And so that's just one of the things. Remember that with the existing stadium that we have now, we weren't approved for the World Cup. So, we'll attract world-class events.
Darren Dubersmith, always a pleasure talking to you. We appreciate your expertise here today. Thank you so much.
Ton of fun as always. Thanks, Russell.
All right, take care.